Hello, welcome to our channel Learn to Score. In this video, I am going to discuss about irrational numbers from the chapter on real numbers for class 10th. I hope you will like the video. Please subscribe to our channel for regular updates. Thank you. Let us quickly recall what we have learnt about real numbers in the previous video. We learnt about rational numbers. These are the numbers that can be expressed as a ratio of two integers, right? And we have also learned about irrational numbers. These are the numbers that cannot be expressed as ratio of two integers. The combination of these two sets of numbers are called real numbers, right? So to write it, we can say that real numbers are collection of rational numbers and irrational numbers, right? We also learned that real numbers can be expressed in the decimal form, right? When you express rational numbers in its decimal form, you get either terminating decimals or non-terminating but recurring decimals, right? Similarly, you can express even irrational numbers in their decimal form, right? In that case, what you get is non-terminating and non-recurring decimal. Please note this. Let us quickly recall what we have learnt about irrational numbers. A real number is called irrational if it cannot be written in the form of p by q, where p and q are integers and q is not equal to 0, right? You take the word cannot. If you remove this and say that if it can be, then it is going to be a rational number. A real number is going to be a rational number if it can be written as p by q, where p and q are integers and q is not equal to 0. If it is cannot, if you are having word cannot here, then the number is going to be irrational. Please note this. Got it? Got the difference between irrational and rational numbers? For example, root 2, root 3, root 5, pi, etc. are irrational numbers, because they cannot be expressed in the form of p by q, where p and q are integers, right? But you can express these numbers in their decimal form. So root 2 can be written as 1.4142135 and so on. Root 3 can be written as 1.7320508075689 and so on. Pi can be written as 3.1415926535 and so on. In all these cases, if you observe, the decimal expansion is non-terminating, meaning you have these three dots, right? It means you can write as many numbers, as many digits as possible. At the same time, those digits are not going to be periodically repeating, right? For that reason, we say that the decimal expansion of irrational numbers is non-terminating and non-repeating. Please note this. Non-terminating and non-repeating or non-recurring. Doesn't matter. Now let's quickly recall about fundamental theorem of arithmetic. We have seen that 210, which is a composite number, can be written as product of prime factors 2, 3, 5 and 7, right? 210 equal to 2 times 3 times 5 times 7. Because we could write this in this order, because we have started with 2, the division process with 2. 210 can be written as 2 times 105. 105 is a composite number that can be written as 3 times 35. 35 is a composite number that can be written as 5 times 7. Instead of starting with number 2, if I start with number 3, 210 can be written as 3 times 2 times 5 times 7, right? I can even start with number 5. If I start with number 5, 210 can be written as 5 times 42. 42 is a composite number, 5 is a prime number, right? 42 can be written as 7 times 6 and 6 can be written as 3 times 2. In all these cases, if you observe, 210 can be written as product of prime factors. That is one point we have to note. The second thing is the prime factors are 2, 3, 5 and 7 only. In all these cases, you're getting the prime factors 2, 3, 5 and 7 only, but the order is different. In the first case, it is 2357. In the second case, it is 3257. In the other case, it is 5732, right? This is what is called fundamental theorem. Whatever learning we had just now is called fundamental theorem of arithmetic. It says that every composite number can be expressed as product of primes. That's what we have seen here. And the factorization is unique. It means in the case of 210, you have factors 2, 3, 5, and 7, right? That factorization is unique. Apart from the order in which the prime factors occur. The order of prime factors can be different, but the factorization is unique. That is the point you have to note, right? That is what is called fundamental theorem of arithmetic. With the help of fundamental theorem of arithmetic, we are going to show certain numbers which are, irrational. We will be in a position to prove that. Let's learn about that in a while. Let us consider some examples on divisibility of numbers now. 8 by 2 can be written as 4, right? It means 2 divides number 8. 64 by 2 can be written as 32. It means 2 divides 64. As you see here, 2 is a prime number. We know that. And 2 divides 8 and 8 square, that is equal to 64, right? Let's consider another example. 6 divided by 3 equal to 2. It means 3 divides number 6. 36 by 3 equal to 12. It means 3 divides 36. In this particular case, 3 is a prime number. And number 3 divides 6 and 6 square, that is equal to 36. Let's consider another example. 15 by 5 equal to number 3. 225 by 5 equal to 45, right? In this particular case, 5 is a prime number. And we have seen that 5 divides 15 and 15 square, that is equal to 225. So we have seen 3 cases where one of the numbers given is a prime number that divides a number like 8 and 8 square, right? In this particular case, 3 is a prime number, it divides 6 and 6 square. 5 is a prime number, it divides 15 and 15 square. Now, can I say that if P is a prime number and P divides A, then P also divides A square? Can I say that? Based on these three examples, we can say that, but it's not a wise idea to just simply say that. For that, what we are going to do is we'll be having a generalized proof. That is called statement 1 in this particular chapter. Let P be a prime number. If P divides A square, where A is a positive integer, then P also divides A. Please note this. P is a prime number. If P divides A square, then P divides A also. This is the statement. Let's prove this now. Let A be any positive integer. We know that we can express any positive integer or the composite integer as product of prime numbers, right? So prime factorization of A can be written as A equal to P1 times P2 times P3 times P4 times P5 times up to Pn. For example, if it can be written as, product of n number of prime numbers, then we can write it like this. In the case of 210, we have seen that it can be written as 2 times 3 times 5 times 7, right? In this particular case, I say that A can be written as P1 times P2 times P3 times and so on up to Pn, right? Here, P1, P2, P3, P4 up to Pn may not be distinct. They can be same also. In the case of 210, we have seen 2, 3, 5, 7. All these numbers are different, right? For example, you want to write 9. 9 can be written as 3 times 3. The P1 and P2 in this case are same, right? So that is what we are saying. We say that it may not be distinct. It may be distinct or may not be distinct, but we simply say that it may not be distinct. Since A equal to P1 times P2 times P3 times P4 up to Pn, we can write it as A square equal to P1, P2, P3, P4 up to Pn times P1, P2, P3, P4 up to Pn, right? For example, 9 equal to 3 times 3. 9 square can be written as 3 square times 3 square, or 3 times 3 times 3 times 3, right? That is what we are writing here. A is equal to P1 times P2 times P3 times P4 up to Pn. Then A square is going to be P1 times P2 times P3 times P4 up to Pn times P1, P2, P3, P4 up to Pn, right? So that can be written as P1 square times P2 square times P3 square times P4 square times up to Pn square, right? In the case of 9 square equal to 3 square times 3 square, we said that 3 is a prime factor of 9 square, right? Similarly, I can say that P1, P2, P3, P4, P up to Pn are prime factors of A square. Got it? So now we said that P divides A square here, right? P divides A square. For that reason, what I say is P is one of the prime factors of A square. If P divides A square, P is one of the prime factors of A square, because P is a prime number. P is going to be one of the prime factors of A square, right? Please recall fundamental theorem of arithmetic. It says that every composite number can be expressed as product of primes, right? And the factorization is unique. The point you have to note here is factorization is unique. If P divides A square, then P is going to be one of these numbers, because factorization is unique. When you say P cannot be a number which is different from P1, P2, P3, P4 up to Pn. It has to be one of these numbers as per the fundamental theorem of arithmetic. Please note this. It means P is one of these numbers, P1, P2, P3, P4 up to Pn, any of the number for that matter. Since P is one of these numbers, we can say that P divides A also, right? Prime factors of A are P1, P2, P3, P4 up to Pn. We have said that P is one of those numbers. Let's say that P is P3. Then automatically here you have P3. For that reason, we can say that P also divides A. Now you could be able to understand the statement clearly. P is a prime number. If P divides A square, then P divides A also. In other words, you can say that if P is a prime number and P divides A, then P divides A square also. Got it? That's what we have learned using the examples of 15 by 3, 6 by 3, all those examples we have seen just now, right? Let us now prove that root 2 is an irrational number. For that, we are going to make use of the statement we have learned just now. Let P be a prime number. If it divides A square, then it divides A also, right? To prove that statement, we have made use of fundamental theorem of arithmetic. For that reason, we have covered fundamental theorem of arithmetic in this video. We have quickly recalled what does it mean by fundamental theorem of arithmetic, and then we have made use of that to prove the statement. And now we are going to make use of that statement to prove root 2 is an irrational number, right? Please note that to prove that root 2 is an irrational number, we are going to make use of proof by contradiction method. What does it mean? We assume that root 2 is a rational number, meaning we wanted to prove that root 2 is an irrational number. But what we are saying is root 2 is a rational number. We have seen that real numbers are a collection of both rational numbers and irrational numbers. right? For example, you want to prove that root 2 is an irrational number. In the proof by contradiction method, what we are going to say is root 2 is a rational number. Any given number, any given real number for that matter, either it can be a rational number or an irrational number, right? Since we want to prove that root 2 is an irrational number by contradiction method, we are saying that root 2 is a rational number. What is the definition of rational number? Rational number can be expressed as ratio of two integers, right? Let's say that root 2 can be expressed as two integers r and s. So root 2 equal to r by s. Let's say that r and s have a common factor other than 1. For example, 3 and 6. If you have two numbers, okay, the common factor is 2, right? Sorry, common factor is one common factor and other common factor is 3, right? So if r and s have any common factor other than 1, we can divide both numerator and denominator of this ratio r by s with that common factor, right? So that I can write it as a by b. For example, r by that common factor is a and s by that common factor is b, right? In this particular case of 6 by 3, if I divide both numerator and denominator with number 3, 6 by 3 equal to 2 and 3 by 3 equal to 1, right? In the similar fashion, r by s, if I divide both numerator and denominator of this particular ratio with a common factor, some common factor, then we are going to get a by b. And in this particular case, 2 and 1 are the a and b, right? Look at this. A and b have only one common factor, that is number 1, right? So if two numbers a and b have only one common factor, that is 1, then they are called co-prime numbers. In the case of 2 and 1, only 1 is the common factor, that's why 2 and 1 are co-prime numbers. Similarly, if you divide r and s with some common factor, highest common factor for that matter, then what you get is a by b. So a by b will not be having any other common factors other than number 1. That's why they are called co-prime numbers. Please note this. So root 2 can be written as a by b now. Initially we have written it as r by s. Now I can write it as a by b. Please note this. If root 2 equal to a by b, I can say that root 2 times b equal to a, right? I have rearranged this particular equation such that I can write it as root 2 times b equal to a. If I square both the sides, then what I'm going to get is 2b square equal to a square, right? I can write 2b square equal to a square as b square equal to a square by 2. Now you see that 2 divides a square, right? When you divide a square with number 2, you got b square, right? That's why we say that 2 divides a square. You remember that if p is a prime number and p divides a square, then p divides a also, right? So in this particular case, 2 is a prime number, it divides a square. It means it divides a also, right? So now can I say that a can be written as 2c? Because we said that 2 divides a. It means if I say a by 2 is going to be some number, that is c. That c is some integer, right? Since we said that 2 divides a, I can write it as a by 2 equal to some constant, that is number c here, that is some integer c. Now can I write that, we have seen this 2b square equal to a square, right? Now let's substitute a equal to 2c into this equation. Then what you get is 2b square equal to 4c square, right? 2c whole square equal to 4c square, right? Now Let's rearrange this equation. 2b square equal to 4c square can be written as b square equal to 2c square, right? When you take this 2 onto this side, what you get is b square equal to 2c square. Now look at this. If b square equal to 2c square, then I can write it as c square equal to b square by 2. Right? When I rearrange b square equal to 2c square, I can write it as c square equal to b square by 2. It means 2 divides b square also. As per this particular statement, 2 divides b also. Right? Here we have seen that 2 divides a. Here we have seen that 2 divides b. Right? It means a and b have a common factor, that is number 2. You see, 2 divides a and b also. But we have said that a and b are co-prime numbers initially, right? Because r and s are divided by a common factor, that is highest common factor. Then we got a and b, which have got only one factor, that is number 1. That's why they are called co-prime numbers. But here we are seeing 2 divides a and b also. It means a and b also have a common factor, that is number 2. That is not possible, right? But we are getting this kind of result for what reason? The reason is that our initial assumption of root 2 is a rational number is incorrect. You know, we initially said that root 2 is a rational number. You know, that's what we have assumed, right? Since that assumption is wrong, we are getting, at one place we said that a and b are co-prime numbers, but at some place we are getting that a and b are no more co-prime numbers. It cannot happen, right? In the same case, you cannot have two numbers being co-prime numbers at the same time they are not co-prime numbers. That is not possible. This all the problem is coming because of the initial assumption we made, that is root 2 is a rational number. If root 2 is not a rational number, then what it can be? It is going to be an irrational number, right? Let's write that. Hence, we can say that root 2 is an irrational number. You got it? We initially started with proof by contradiction method. It means since we want to prove that root 2 is an irrational number, and we want to prove that by contradiction method, we said that root 2 is a rational number, not an irrational number. Then we tried proving it, but we failed to prove that it is a rational number. For that reason, we are saying that root 2 is an irrational number. Got it? Let us now show that 5 minus root 3 is an irrational number. In this particular case also, we are going to make use of proof by contradiction method. It means we are going to say that, or we are going to assume that 5 minus root 3 is a rational number. You know that any real number you consider, it can be either a rational number or an irrational number, right? Here, if 5 minus root 3 is a rational number, it cannot be an irrational number. Or if it is an irrational number, it cannot be a rational number, right? At the same time, the same number cannot be both rational and irrational number, right? So let us assume that 5 minus root 3 is a rational number, right? It means it can be written as ratio of two integers. Let me say that it can be written as ratio of two co-prime numbers a and b, right? That's why I'm writing 5 minus root 3 equal to a by b. You may recall that co-prime numbers means they'll have only one as the common factor, right? Now, if I can write 5 minus root 3, since I have assumed it as a rational number, I can write it as ratio of two integers. Those are co-prime numbers in this particular case, a by b. So 5 minus root 3 equal to a by b. That can be rearranged and written as root 3 equal to 5 minus a by b, right? This can be rearranged further and written as root 3 equal to 5 times b minus a divided by b, right? For example, this is 5 by 1 minus a by b. The LCM is b, that's why I'm writing here. So this is 5 times b minus a times 1. That's why I could write it as 5b minus a divided by b, that is equal to root 3 here. Right? Since a and b are integers, are here, you know, a and b are integers, at the same time they are co-prime numbers also. But since a and b are integers, 5b minus a is going to be an integer and 2b is also going to be an integer. It means 5b minus a divided by 2b is a ratio of two integers, right? That is going to be a rational number. As per the definition of rational number, 5b minus a divided by 2b is going to be rational number, because 5b minus a, the numerator is an integer and the denominator 2b is also an integer. The ratio of two integers is a rational number, right? Now, as per this, if 5b minus a divided by 2b square is a rational number, then automatically root 3 is going to be a rational number, right? But we know that root 3 is an irrational number, because we have seen the decimal expansion of root 3 is 1.732 and so on, is a non-terminating and non-repeating decimal, right? For that reason, we said that it is an irrational number. But when you have assumed 5 minus root 3 equal to is a rational number, we are getting root 3 as a rational number. We know that root 3 cannot be a rational number, right? Root 3 is an irrational number. At the same time, it cannot be a rational number, right? So there is some problem. The problem happens because the assumption we made, we are getting root 3 as a rational number, but we know that it is an irrational number. So let me say that it contradicts with root 3 is an irrational number. That is the fact, right? We know that square root of any prime number for that matter is an irrational number, and that is the fact. But whatever assumption we made and whatever some calculations we have done, that is yielding a result saying that root 3 is a rational number. So where is the problem? Problem is with the assumption we made, right? So we simply say that the assumption we made is wrong. And we can now conclude that 5 minus root 3 is an irrational number, right? If it is a rational number, we are going to get root 3 as a rational number. That is not correct. For that reason, what we said is the assumption we made is wrong. That's why 5 minus root 3 is an irrational number. We can conclude that. Got it? I hope you like the video. Please like, share and subscribe to our channel Learn to Score. Thank you.